Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Ox Cord podcast presented by Boot Crew Media and sponsored by Maker's Mark. I'm your host, Cruz Oxenrider. As always, joined with me by my co-host Nick Perkins. No, this isn't a troll. This isn't a joke. This is a real thing. You're hearing us. We have started our own new podcast. We loved what we were able to do with Cruise Control, and we thank Belly Up for giving us a really good opportunity to get our feet wet and get our name out there and start to learn. But we were approached with a really great opportunity with Boot Crew, and we feel like this is going to be an addition to what Cruise Control was. We're really excited about what the future holds. We're going to have guests, segments, merchandise, live streams. I mean, this is really going to be something special, and we want to thank everyone for the love and support that we got from Cruise Control to bring over here, and we're only going to get better. Nick, welcome, man. I'm excited. I'm glad you were able to come join me on this as well, and I'm excited for the future, man.
Yeah, man, that was a beautiful intro. I couldn't say it honestly better myself. I mean, obviously it was a bitter ending to Cruise Control. Obviously with we got busy with life and with everything else going on, it just became a situation where the show had to take a back seat. But this one, we have a really good support system with Boot Crew, and everybody over here is absolutely amazing, and I wouldn't change it for the world. It's the best. It's so far so good.
Yeah, no kidding. And like I said, we're really excited to build off what we did with Cruise Control, and gotta admit, the Ox Cord has a pretty good ring to it.
Yeah, I don't know where you come up with this kind of stuff, man. That was just off the dome, and you killed that.
You would think I would work in marketing and PR. You think I would have a background in that. So for those who don't know who we are, me and Nick attended the University of Alabama. We have different pro teams. I am a diehard New Orleans Saints fan. Nick is a diehard Atlanta Falcons fan and Atlanta sports fan. We are actually fraternity brothers. We were Lambda Chi's at the University of Alabama. We are somewhat big in something called Gump Twitter. For those who don't know, that's Alabama athletics Twitter. Yeah, it is a cult. It is a cult. If that is the best way to honestly describe it. It's the most toxic fun you'll ever have. And we love everyone in that because they help get us to where we are. They are a big reason we where we are. And we just want to improve on that. And we're not just an Alabama, New Orleans Saints, Atlanta Falcons podcast. We are a universal sports podcast. We love talking football, basketball, collegiates. Nick's got me into soccer. We talk baseball. Anything in the world of sports, we'll touch on, and we won't give you some generic BS answer. Like, we'll tell you how we feel. I think me and Nick are probably the harshest on our teams than anybody else. We're firm believers that if you can't make fun of your own team, you don't deserve to make fun of other people. So, and we really embrace that on the show, especially with the type of guests that we have. We have people from Bleacher Report, the UFC, ESPN, Saturday Down South. We're gonna really hit on some guests this season. So just enjoy the ride. And like I said, I can't be more appreciative of everyone and for the support. So with that being said, Nick, we really kind of hit our stride in the beginning of college football. We have gone through a lot this college football season. I think this is probably the most fun college football season I can remember since probably like 2007. It seemed like there was a top 5 team getting upset every other week. I just kind of want to touch on the beginning of our seasons. I actually went back and looked at our predictions.
Oh God.
And we weren't terribly wrong.
I remember all the bad stuff.
Yes, you actually hit a home run. You picked the national championship game.
I did. I wish I would have bet it.
Yeah, you picked beginning of the season back in August. You picked Georgia-Bama national championship with Georgia winning. You picked
Not only that, I picked Alabama, Georgia, SEC. I had Alabama going over in the SEC, and then Georgia winning in the Natty.
You did.
So I like all of that, dude. But like that is one of those ones where like I would give anything to be wrong. You know what I mean? It really was one of those.
And then you picked Spencer Rattler to win the Heisman, but to be fair, a lot of other people did too. We did not see Caleb Williams coming. I picked Clemson, Alabama. Dead wrong on that. And then I picked Sam Howell to win the Heisman. And I believe our intern picked Oregon, Bama, and picked Breece Hall to win the Heisman from Iowa State. And I picked Iowa State to go to the playoffs. So it was an all-around just kind of weird year. But my dark horse pick was Ole Miss, and that was a great selection. I picked them to finish second in the West. They did. I said their only loss would be to Bama, but they ended up losing to Auburn when they shouldn't have.
Right.
But, I mean, basically we can recap like the craziness of what it was. Georgia looked like the best team all year. They had one bad game against Alabama in the SEC championship. We thought we've seen this movie before. We thought this, all right, Kirby's just never going to beat Nick, because if he can't do it with a team this loaded, he'll never be able to do it.
Right.
And we saw that. We saw Ohio State, Michigan. We finally saw Jim Harbaugh get over the hump, beat Ohio State, blew out Iowa, who I picked to go to the Big Ten championship in the beginning of the year, and blew them out, and then made the college football playoffs for the first time. And then we had Cincinnati, finally a Power 5 team going undefeated, running the gauntlet, beat Notre Dame at Notre Dame, beat Indiana when everyone thought Indiana was great. And they went to the college football playoffs. Granted, they didn't thrive, but they made it, like ending that whole stigma of only big name teams can make the playoffs.
I'm going to argue that. And just really quick, I'm going to a quick debate here.
Yeah.
Was it better for them to make the playoff and play the way they did against an Alabama team and just get, skull dragged the whole time? Or is it better to have the unknown of like, oh man, this 12-0 Cincinnati team, like they could have made some noise in the playoff. Like now I feel like it's cemented. Okay, no group of 5 teams can make the playoff as long as the 4-team playoff stands. No,
because I feel like it's the UCF argument. Well, it was like, oh, like they could have played tough with Bama. They could have done this, could have done that. Well, we got to actually see it. We got to see it. And then now with the expansion of the playoffs coming, there will be, if a Power 5 team goes undefeated, they're making the playoffs. Now, will they win? No, but eventually there will be a team like the 06 Boise State or the TCUs of the early 2000s or the UCFs or the Cincinnatis that will come out, and they just have to be better one day out of the year than the team across from it. And like we've seen upsets where it's like, hey, 5 turnovers in a game, quarterback gets hurt, injuries and sickness because now COVID's a thing. We don't know how long that could be. Like what, for example, like what if we went into the playoff game against Cincinnati and Bryce Young and Will Anderson got put on the COVID list?
Yeah,
that game would have been drastically different.
Of course. And that's the argument you'd have. But like if you're looking at it from a complete, Team A full strength, Team B full strength, and then you got Team C sitting at the 5 spot. Maybe they're 11-1, no conference championship, but you have a 12-0 group of 5 team. Does the playoff committee start to look back at this 2021 season saying, oh, well, that didn't really work out too good for us last time? Maybe we need to put in this 11-1 Ohio State, 11-1 Michigan State, 11-1 Oregon, right? Like that is more of my question of like, was that better? Was it better for them to not make the playoffs just so they could keep the argument of, well, we could compete. Now we clearly see that you can't.
Yeah. I thought it's kind of like the Notre Dame thing. Notre Dame is one of those teams where it's just a sexy brand, and no matter what they decide to do, they will always be in the college football playoff running because of their brand recognition. Now with Cincinnati and the Boise States and the BYUs and back in the day, the TCUs, it's the David versus Goliath, like argument where it's like now it's like, okay, the 4-team if it was staying 4 teams, I would completely agree with you. Be like, do not put these people in. Like, don't. It's like we've seen what's going to happen. We've seen what's happened with when Cincinnati goes up against a Georgia, they lose. No, granted, that was a great game back then, but it was a weird COVID year. And then we've seen what they did against Alabama. We ran for 300 yards against them. So it was a slaughtering. And now with 8 teams, Cincinnati going up, not having to go up against an Alabama or a Georgia in the first round because they'll get a first round bye. Like, but what if they did play let's say a Pac-12 champion Utah or a 2-loss Ohio State or one of those teams that like squeak by, like an Oklahoma State. Like, I would have loved to seen Oklahoma State or Baylor play against Cincinnati. Now, the next round you'll have to go play an Alabama or a Georgia, but at least you can say like, hey, that 8 versus 4 matchup or that 8 versus 5 matchup was a lot more entertaining. Yeah. So I think that's the only thing. Now, I agree with you. If it would have been 4 teams, I'd be like, no, keep them out. No more of this Power 5 crap. I want only Big 10, SEC, ACC, Big 12, and then maybe once every decade a Pac-12 team.
And that's usually how it's been. I mean, obviously.
And then, so we'll touch on that. Lincoln Riley leaving Oklahoma to go to USC. And now it's like, okay, the Pac-12 is exciting again.
Right.
Like, and I haven't been excited about Pac-12 football since Pete Carroll and USC and Reggie Bush and Matt Leinart and Lindell White, Mark Sanchez. Like, I'm excited to see what USC does. And I don't think they're going to be like in the national championship running next year, but dude, 2 years down the road, like it's like Miami, like back in the 80s. You run recruiting in the state of Florida or just Miami alone, you can win a national championship. If you were recruiting in Southern California, it's impossible. Like I was watching something not too long ago that said back in like 05, 06, 07, if there was a 5-star recruit in Southern California, colleges would not even come to LA because they're like, why? Pete's just gonna get them.
Right.
Why would we waste our time with that? So I can't wait to see what it's gonna be like, especially if Caleb Williams decides to transfer to USC. And him with Lincoln Riley lighting up Pac-12, that's dangerous. Because like Mario Cristobal's gone. We don't know what Oregon's going to be. Your
UCLA has not been.
Even though I'll give you props though. You picked UCLA in the beginning of the season to beat LSU, and I wasn't one of those guys. Like I was definitely wrong on that. But I'm excited to see. And then. Just the coaching turnaround has just been crazy. You have Brian Kelly going to LSU. That's my least favorite coaching hire. Because
as far as like you're worried as an Alabama fan or as the coaching fit?
No, the coaching fit. Like I agree.
I don't know why people are like, oh my God, he's going to win a national championship at LSU. I just don't see it.
He can win one when Saban leaves. Like that's the only way I see it, because Brian Kelly is not a likable person. He's not. Like the thing about Les Miles and Nick Saban and Coach O, when they were at LSU, they could win a room. Right. Like I know people aren't the biggest fans of Nick Saban, but like when you get him in a living room, he's a completely different. He's the best salesman in college football.
Oh yeah.
And so it's like, I can send your kids to the NFL and you'll be millionaires in the next 5 years.
Right.
Like how do you compete with that? Coach O, like, is the most lovable guy. Like I'm not an LSU fan, but I love Coach O, and I hope
him as a person, hate him as a coach.
Yeah, and I can't wait to see what he does next. And then like even Les Miles, he was the Mad Hatter. Like everyone, like it was that thing where it's like LSU and Bama were fighting for a lot of players, and Coach Les Miles is one of those lovable guys, and he got a national championship. So Brian Kelly just doesn't fit that culture. Like Notre Dame is such a business type organization, university, where it's like you have to academically clear to get in to play at Notre Dame before, which is tough. And I'll give him props because he can still get those smart kids to go play. But I don't know, man. I don't think this is going to be the hire that a lot of people do. Like, I think he's going to struggle because you go up against Lane Kiffin, Jimbo Fisher, and Nick Saban, every year. Like, not like every other year, like every year in your own division. So,
but
like,
not even just like playing against them on the road, at home, whatever. You're competing recruiting.
Yeah.
Because Nick Saban has made it a point to go down into LSU and steal studs like, Devontae Smith and Christian Harris, right? All of these guys
Landon Collins, Eddie Lacy.
That grew up an hour from Baton Rouge that ended up being studs at Alabama that then go on to play in the NFL and have great NFL careers.
Yeah.
Right. So you got to be, obviously everybody knows this. You got to be able to recruit in college football. And I'm not just 100% sold that Brian Kelly is going to be able to recruit at a high level in that area of the country. I just don't see it. I'm
not worried so much about recruiting. I'm worried more about players getting up for him. Like, this isn't Notre Dame where you get to pick and choose your schedule being an independent. And then you had that 1 year in 2020 where you had to play an ACC schedule. Like, you're not getting to play Toledo or Wake Forest or or a bad Florida State team or Army and Air Force and all those guys, respect to the troops. But you're having to play against Bama, Ole Miss, Mississippi State on their years. Arkansas is a sleeping giant. Florida is a sleeping giant with their new coach. Georgia, Kentucky, Tennessee's on the rise. Like, the SEC West is the hardest division in all of college football, and it will be next year.
Right.
It's not even close. Like, Bama, Auburn, LSU, Mississippi State, Arkansas. I think the only gimme in that little division is Mississippi State, and they'll still put up numbers on you.
And see, that's the thing. It's still Mike Leach with that air raid offense, and if he can get a quarterback that can throw really, really effectively, he'll put up 500 yards passing on you easy.
Yeah. So I'm curious to see. I don't think it's a good fit. Culture wise, I think recruiting wise he'll be fine, but he's not. I just got to see it to believe it. And
he's still gonna have recruits stolen from him, though. I mean, that people saying like he's building now an iron curtain around Louisiana and nobody's getting recruits out of it. That's just not gonna happen. I mean, Nick Saban, Jimbo Fisher, as much as I hate it, he is a great recruiter. They're gonna tap into that, that Louisiana that has just been a gold mine for college football and NFL players as of recent in the last decade. So I don't see it. I mean, and to be extremely successful in the era of college football that we find ourselves in with Nick Saban, with Jimbo Fisher, with Mike Leach, with Lane Kiffin, all in the SEC West, you can't allow a 5-star stud to leave your state. You just can't. I mean, 1 or 2, that might happen here and there, but you can't allow 4, 5, 6 guys to leave your state year after year after year. And the last 3 or 4 years with Coach O and at the end of Les Miles' career there, that was happening year after year. Players were getting stolen from LSU. And they were getting flipped. I don't see it. And like you say, oh, he's going to be fine in recruiting. I think it's a dumpster fire hire to begin with. I don't think he's going to be able to recruit. I don't think he's going to be able to honestly coach with Jimbo Fisher and Nick Saban. He might be able to coach with Lane Kiffin and Mike Leach. He might be able to be on par with them, but I just don't see it. And honestly, I have a steak dinner with a buddy of mine that he'll be fired in 5 years. So
5 years. Wow.
I give him really 5 years. So? And honestly, I would say it's 3, but I gave myself 5.
Okay. Well, and then so that kind of wrapped up the coaching hire. I mean, there are a couple new ones. Mario Cristobal going to Miami. Again, I've seen this before. I have to see to believe it. I've heard for years the U is back, and so until I see it, I'll never believe it. And I like Brett. I love the Brett Venables, the Oklahoma. He's an Oklahoma guy. I think that one's going to work out well. Bring some defense back to the Big 12. So, and then of course, college football playoffs. We know Alabama runs through Cincinnati. It looked like Bama didn't even try most of the game because they could just, what was it, 7 yards a carry?
It was something. It was 6.7. I think Brian Robertson set a record with 200 and some odd yards.
206 yards. I mean, Bryce really didn't have to do too much. And then Georgia boat racing Michigan. That one I didn't expect. Like, that was like, whoa. I was not prepared for that kind of dominant display from Georgia, because I was really under the impression, like, man, how is this team going to react? Is Georgia going to let the SEC championship game break them, or will it make them even better? And we both saw that it really made them better offensively and defensively. And of course, we know what happened to Indy. I was there. It was a back and forth game, most of it, defensive struggle. And then the fourth quarter happened, and, back and forth they went. And look, I give it to Georgia, man. They turned it around defensively. It was great. I thought it was probably one of the more impressive displays of it. It almost was like Georgia was calling out Bama in the middle of the ring and said, let's go. Last round, let's go.
Yeah.
And Georgia won that fight. And a lot of teams have not been able to win that fight against Bama, especially on that stage. And if you watch that game, it looked like Bama was they had control. And it wasn't until that huge run by Cook that really kind of just flipped the momentum and kind of like, okay, like the life was kind of sucked out of the Bama crowd, which I was there. It was 85-15 Georgia.
Really?
It was like being at a Georgia game in Athens or a Georgia game in the Georgia Dome. Like, it was so loud. It really was a huge advantage for Georgia being there. And it was impressive. Like, I was very impressed by the showing of Georgia fans that were there. A lot of them were very classy. That, they weren't disrespectful. I didn't really get barked at. But, the pick six, if you're a college football fan and you don't like Alabama and you're a Georgia fan, that pick six was just a defining play in college football.
Mm-hmm.
It was 41 years of pain and agony and suffering and heartbreak. And it was that moment just erased it. It was done. It's like, hey, we don't have to hear 1980 jokes anymore. We don't have to hear the bark jokes anymore. We don't have to hear Saban's daddy's jokes anymore. Like, we're champions. You can't do anything about it. And they beat a Heisman Trophy winning quarterback. Granted, their best offensive player tore his ACL throughout the game, but I mean, even it was still a game. Bama was going down to try and tie the game down 8 with, less than 2 minutes left. So it was a game.
Yeah, I mean, that without the pick six, I was sitting there watching that game, and honestly, I half of my soul really truly believed we were going to march down the field, score a touchdown, go for 2, tie game. And at that point, I was like, if we score and tie this game with a minute left, Alabama wins this game, because at that point, everybody on the Georgia sideline, in the stadium, everybody watching at home, everybody knows how that game ends, right? And like, it's just, and like almost the fight would have been sucked out of them, because it's like, damn, we had these guys, we had them, and now they're right back in it, right? So I think, you called it. That pick six was an unbelievable, shift in rhetoric of college football in general. And I don't think it's, a shift in the sense of, Georgia's now about to go on a 15-year dynasty, win 6 out of the next 15.
No.
I don't believe that. I think Alabama's still the dominant team in college football. Honestly, what that game, what that team, what that coaching staff did at Georgia, and being able to convince all those players to stay, buy into the program, and the way they dominated people this year.
Yeah.
Other than that one-off against Alabama in the SEC championship game, they, I think, averaged allowing 6.7 points a game.
Yeah.
That is unheard of in today's college football era, right?
Yeah.
So being able to do that is a statement to the rest of college football, saying that Georgia is not going anywhere. This is not going to be a Clemson where they're going to be good for 5 or 6 years and then fall to the wayside because they can't get a generational talent like Trevor Lawrence. This is a team that is here to stay, and they are going to be competitors in this league for years and years and years to come. I don't think they're going to go on some crazy dynasty.
No.
I'm just saying there's a new kid on the block. It's not just Alabama anymore.
I agree with that. I thought this was it kind of had that team of destiny feel all season long. It really did. Like, yes, they had a devastating, heartbreaking loss in the SEC championship game. But if you think about it, in 10 years, is anyone really going to remember that Bama won the SEC?
No. I mean, it's going to be a banner, in the north side of the stadium that nobody looks at. Yeah. Everybody's going to remember that national championship game. Everybody's going to remember that pick six.
Yeah, 100%. And it's going to be interesting to see what. So this is going to be Kirby's dilemma. Kirby has never won a championship. He's never had the turnover of staff like now he's having. Right. Like his offensive and defense coordinator gone, taking head coaching jobs, well deserved. He's losing a lot to the draft. Stetson Bennett's gone. JT Daniels just announced today he's in the transfer portal. There's a lot of young talent, yes, but it's unproven. And then you look at next year. Next year is setting up a collision course between Bama and Ohio State. Mm-hmm. Like Bama is returning a lot. Yes, Chris Allen's gone. Christian Harris is gone.
J-Mo and
Mechie are gone, which we kind of expected. I was holding out a little bit of hope Mechie would stick around, but I totally understand. Slade Bolden's gone. Thank God. I to this day, there are two unexplainable things in my sports world that I would never understand. Sean Payton's love with Taysom Hill and Nick Saban's fascination with Slade Bolden. But we never have to worry about it again.
I firmly believe that he was a guy, that was like good in the locker room. Everybody loved him kind of guy, and waited his turn. And he almost needed to play him in a way to just keep freshmen there. And this is just my conspiracy theory, right? I mean, I believe Nick Saban's the kind of guy that is going to play the best player possible. Right. But I honestly believe that he is also a person that's saying, okay, just like for the locker room, we gotta give this guy a chance. And he had spurts of greatness. I mean, he had decent hands. Yeah. And I would say there have definitely been worse receivers under Nick Saban at Alabama. But I mean, I don't subscribe to the hate that he gets. Is he a Julio Jones? Is he a Devontae Smith? Is he, a Jerry Jeudy? Absolutely not.
Dude, he's not even a Richard Mulaney. Don't even give me that. He's I would take Slotty Pippen, Richard Mulaney over Slade Bolden 7 days a week and twice on Saturdays.
I don't know.
Yes,
I don't know.
100% would.
That's a tough one for me. I'd have to think about
that. Not a tough one. It doesn't matter. Slade Bolden's going to be a New England Patriot in the draft anyways. We know this.
And he's going to be an NFL MVP in Super Bowl in like 5 years from now. He's going to end up being in the NFL Hall of Fame. I mean, let's be honest.
I will eat so much crow if he becomes the next Julian Edelman or Danny Amendola. I don't think he will, but like I said, like no one saw those two coming. And
all right, look, side note to that, Julian Edelman, definitely Hall of Famer, right?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Not first ballot, but yes.
Not first ballot, but yes, he is, right? Danny Amendola?
No.
I don't think so either.
Wes Welker, yes.
Wes Welker, yes, 100%.
100%. So anyways, shout out to the University of Georgia.
I have not had a single Georgia fan be over than what I thought that it was going to be harassment, that I was going to have to block people. I haven't had to do that.
You're right. Yeah. I haven't had that.
I got to give them some credit on that.
Yeah. One. I think they don't know how to act. Because
they really don't.
Social media wasn't even remotely close to being a thing. Like people were still like sending letters and using phone books the last time they won a national championship. So like they're obviously there will be a few, and I don't blame them. We would be obnoxious too had we won back to back. Which, by the way, there's not been a back-to-back winner in the college football playoffs yet. There have been a couple of chances to repeat, but there hasn't been an official repeat winner. So I
think it's a beautiful thing. I think that was by design.
Yeah, I like it. Now, it's bet gambling purposes. If for whatever reason Georgia were to make it again next year, I'm taking whoever they're playing. Exactly. So. Shout out to them. Bama opened up as Vegas odds favorite to win it. Ohio State was 2. I think Georgia was 3. So we'll see what happens. I'm excited to see.
Odds? What are the odds on Alabama? Is it 5-2? I think that was the last. I'm gonna look at this up really quick.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting, and it's mainly because Bryce Young and Will Anderson and most of the defense are coming back. I'm excited to see what Georgia is going to do at quarterback. I think Ohio State's going to be deadly. CJ Stroud comes back. I want to see what Clemson does. Like, they just got this was kind of funny. It was Hunter Johnson transferred out of Clemson because of DJ. DJ was
abysmal.
I don't know who was a bigger disappointment. Like, don't get me wrong, like Spencer Rattler is bad, but Caleb Williams was amazing.
Right.
DJ was just bad. He could not throw at all. It was.
I just have to imagine an athlete that talented had to have been hurt. I'm gonna give him that benefit of the doubt.
You can give it to him, but like I saw it and I was like, and we went back. I was wrong on CJ Stroud. He got better every game and he was great. I was dead on the money about DJ. So we'll see what happens there. And then Nick, we're coming to the end of football season, man. It's
quickly. Alabama is 7-2 odds right now, plus 325 currently to win the national championship next year. And look, if that thing goes to like 5-1 at some point, I might hammer it solely because I don't. Correct me now. You know past football a lot better than me. You got like an encyclopedia in your head, so you could tell me this. Has there ever been a team in modern college football history, right, that has had the number 1 and number 2 player drafted? Maybe a USC in 06?
No, not number 1 and number 2, because the year 05, that was Mario Williams, and because Reggie Bush went 2 to the Saints,
right?
Matt Leinart went to the Cardinals. I don't think there's ever been a 1 and 2. I think the closest was LSU with Burrow and
Jamar Chase was like
no. That was a different draft. Damn. So
yeah,
I don't know. I don't think
so.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, there is a very, very realistic chance that Alabama is the first to do that 1 and 2 with Will Anderson and Bryce Young.
And it's all going to depend, like, obviously, like where the teams fall. Like if it's, say, for example, like Atlanta or New Orleans, like falls to like that, they will take Bryce Young. Now, if it's like a team like Jacksonville or the Jets, or I'm trying to think of teams that like don't need a quarterback. It's like a team on the rise, like who doesn't need a quarterback. They will take Will Anderson 1 because he's
right. But see, that's what I'm saying. Both of those guys are so unbelievably talented, and it's just kind of like in general, I can't think of an example right now, but it's like, when a left tackle goes number 1, and it's because he is so unbelievable, you have to take him number 1. Like you're forced by whatever is out there to take this person number 1, and then your next available is just from the same team because whoever goes first is going to go second.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
And I think Neil's going to end up going 1 to Jacksonville.
I really do too, which will be Nick Saban's first number 1 overall pick.
Which is insane to think about. It really is.
All the talent.
All the talent and everything. I think he has a good chance. It's going to be it's going to be who ends up taking the job at Jacksonville. Like, say if it's Harbaugh, he's taking oh my gosh, what is his name? Hutchinson. He's taking Hutchinson. That's his guy. Yeah. He's taking Hutchinson. Now, if it's like a Bill O'Brien which please God, please give the. If Bill O'Brien goes to Jacksonville, I think the NFL really needs to step in and help save that godforsaken franchise because they have been through enough pain and torture. It's just not fair anymore. It's kind of embarrassing. Like
I'm gonna come to the defense. I'm gonna come to the defense of Bill O'Brien really quick. Just I don't like the guy. I didn't like him as OC. I didn't like the hire when Nick Saban hired him.
Hated it.
But I mean, how can you sit there and disagree with the GOAT? But so you just got to ride with it. But I think the hire at Jacksonville, if Bill O'Brien does get hired there, isn't that bad as long as he's not allowed to dabble in personnel. Okay, because that dude doesn't know how to trade for shit. Okay, he just doesn't know how to do it. Right. No. So if he can just be a coach and be a player's guy and manage the team on the field, run your practice, instill your offense and the defense you want to do, I don't think he's that bad because the Texans went to the playoffs, like 4 out of the 7 years he was there?
Yeah,
it was something like that. Like,
well, it was a terrible division though. That was before
it was, and it was also
yeah.
Deshaun Watson. But
Yes,
it's one of those things where it's like, you can argue he's not that bad.
we'll see. Like
I don't know.
we'll see. It's going to take a lot of work in Jacksonville. But I'll give them this. There's a lot of cap space. There's no state income tax.
Cap space.
You have a quarterback locked in for the next 4 years.
Jacksonville's just a dope city to be in, anyways.
It's I lived there for last 3.5 years. It's a good city. I mean, it's a lot to do. It's just going to take. It's going to take a lot to fix that, especially with Tennessee being the number 1 seed. Indianapolis is on the rise. Who's the other team? Houston. I mean, they got some pieces. I mean, that Davis Mills kid looks pretty decent. They get the right coach in there, and they get some draft picks for Deshaun Watson. They can build something. But I'm curious to see. But Nick, I'm kind of sad because it's already NFL playoff season, and we just finished the wild card round. Well, most of it. The Rams Cardinals game is tonight. Which, by the way, I have the Rams winning. The Rams were my preseason pick to go to the Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. I believe, from what I remember, like I went back and listened to our beginning shows, I had Bills-Rams Super Bowl with the Bills winning.
Bills-Rams.
That was mine
with the Bills
preview. Yes, I had the Bills winning. That was my preview when we did our preview episode.
Yeah.
And in Kansas City, Buffalo was my preview AFC Championship, and if I'm not mistaken, it was. But no, but it can't happen because they literally play
because they play in the next round.
Yeah, because so I'll be wrong on that. But I also had Rams Bucks NFC Championship.
It's one of those. This is going to be so chalk. It really, really is. I don't remember what I said, but I think I had the Chiefs in there somewhere because I have a gut feeling it's like revenge tour for Patrick Mahomes right now. That team was unbelievable last year
and last night.
And I mean, he was crazy. I think he threw for like 250 yards in the first half.
He had 5 touchdowns in the third quarter.
Yeah, so he's a freak. So all of that being said, I think I'm still rolling with my pick as far as that. I think it's Kansas City revenge tour. I think Tampa Bay runs through the NFC.
No,
I really do.
Did you not see that? Did you not see that offensive line get absolutely decimated by the Eagles? I'm telling you, and this is no, like, I'm not throwing shade because I think he is a great person and a great leader. Jalen Hurts is not an NFL quarterback. And yesterday proved that. Like, I'm sorry, he had so many throws wide open that he overthrew, underthrew. He did not need to roll out of the pocket. It blows my mind. Like, I just watched that game. I'm thinking of, like, if the Eagles had a quarterback that could actually read a defense and throw, they would have beat the Bucs because the Bucs were Tom Brady was getting sacked a lot and pressured.
They still put up 31 unanswered even with getting sacked
because they had great field position to start out because Jalen Hurts couldn't do anything and he was throwing interceptions.
Well, granted, but he was throwing picks. Absolutely, one of his interceptions was in the end zone though, so you can't say that.
And he releases that a half second sooner. It's a easy wide open touchdown to Smith.
And I also want to point out that is one of those games where I feel like if one thing goes differently in the beginning of the game, the entire game goes differently. Because I think over time, I mean, Philadelphia, I saw on ESPN, they were 0-6 against playoff teams this year, right, in the regular season. So, they are not very good against teams that are very good, right? Yeah. But I think it's a lack of confidence, right? They got down and they were like, oh, we're not going to win this game. Now, granted, that defense kept fighting. Like you said, they got sacks and stuff. But, I mean, that – I also thought it was very strange they didn't get Devontae Smith involved in the offense until like the third quarter when the game was over.
Look what he was doing. Really he was good. Devontae Smith is great. Like, he needs to be involved more.
But going back to your Jalen Hurts point, not being an NFL QB, I don't think he is the guy that can single-handedly get you to a Super Bowl like a Tom Brady or like an Aaron Rodgers can, right? I think he is the type of guy, if you build a really good team around him where he doesn't have to make plays, drive after drive or game after game to win games for you, he's going to be a good mobile quarterback that is also a game manager, right? That he doesn't have to just go sicko mode and win a bunch of games for you. But I don't think he's the guy. If you don't have to rely on him, he's not going to lose you games either.
He lost that.
I personally feel that way.
He lost that game yesterday. I'm sorry, he did.
That offense wasn't doing anything with him. If you put
he couldn't
put Lamar Jackson in that offense, it's still 31.
They score points. No, it's not. I'm sorry. He
underthrew.
No, not at all. And you know why? You know why Philly couldn't run the ball? They put Miles or Sanders, who's a really underrated running back. I really like
when
Sanders.
He's not hurt. He's actually
decent. When he's not hurt. But dude, they're not scared of Jalen Hurts throwing the football. Like they're not. Like it's they're not scared of it. So they're going to load the box and play man. And I just think Tampa Bay just knew that, and it paid. And look what happened. Like they had a Jalen Hurts had. I think when I went back and like looked at all the stuff, he had a wide open touchdown. If he just stays in the pocket and doesn't roll out, he has Smitty wide open in the end zone and is late to that throw, and it's picked off in the end zone. And then there was one on like a fourth down. If he throws it again, it's a wide open first down. It boggles me. It doesn't make any sense. And I've seen Jalen Hurts since his freshman year at Bama not be able to throw the ball consistently.
He was a Heisman contender at Oklahoma for throwing the ball.
Because he had Lincoln Riley playing against Big 12 defenses, and he had CeeDee Lamb, and he had a lot of good weapons around him. I mean, look at what CeeDee Lamb is doing in the NFL right now. Like he's a monster. And Lincoln Riley put him in great positions to put up numbers. He did that with Baker. He did that with Kyler Murray. He did that with Caleb Williams. Spencer Rattler is a head case. I'm not even going to touch on him, but I don't think he's an NFL quarterback. I think that he's way too inconsistent. He'll have games where he lights you up. So does Taysom Hill. Taysom Hill has games where he'll light you up too, but like I don't want him. He's not going to win me a championship. I'm sorry,
not even close, brother. It's not even close.
Jalen
Hurts can make the playoffs as a quarterback, though. Taysom Hill can even sniff it. Well, I guess y'all were actually in the hunt going into the final.
It literally took the Rams blowing a 17-point lead for us, and plus, not to mention we lost. The Saints had the most players out in a rotation. Like they played the most active players than anybody in NFL history.
Y'all were, y'all got so unlucky with injuries and COVID shit this year. It's ridiculous.
4 quarterbacks.
I want to go back to this though. So you're gonna die on the hill of Jalen Hurts is not an NFL quarterback. You're gonna die on that hill.
He will. No, he's not an NFL quarterback. In fact, I think he'll be out of Philly. I'll tell you this. This is my prediction. The Philadelphia Eagles try and get Russell Wilson, or they'll try.
Who isn't at the bottom half of the league?
But I'm saying like you have but think about it. Jalen Hurts is literally a second-year player, and you're ready. And the Cowboys, which we'll touch on that game in a minute. They look good. The Giants are a mess. They're gonna have to figure something else out. Washington football team. I mean, their defense is just. It can be so good if they just had any consistency on offense. I just don't see it with Jalen, and I hate that because I love what he did at Bama. I think he's a high character guy. I think he's a stand up guy, great leader. But like I don't see him taking Philly to the promised land. I don't.
Fair. So, but okay, I. On some records, I agree with you there. I disagree. I think he's an NFL starting quarterback, though. I think he can be a consistent NFL starter. But so this is a great transition. Hold on one sec. Okay. You don't think Jalen Hurts is a consistent NFL starter? He's a great guy. He's going to make a lot of money as a backup quarterback, but you don't think he can take a team and win a bunch of playoff games? He would need to be in the perfect situation all around. Like, you'd have to have everything right. And Philly has a good offensive line. They have a good on the rise, like, young stud receiver in Devontae Smith. Now, Jalen Reagor is awful. Like, he's not good. But Dallas Goedert is a good tight end. Miles Sanders, when he's healthy, is a good running back. I like the pieces that Philly has on defense, especially in the front seven. Like, we saw that yesterday, getting that pressure on Tom Brady.
But I mean, maybe get Jalen one more wide receiver. Like I don't know what else he needs. Like he
needs a defense. Needs a defense in the back end. D-line's great.
Okay. So here's this argument. I got into somebody about this too. Everyone blames the 2016 Alabama defense bending and breaking against Clemson in 2016, the championship game. I don't care who your defense is and how good it is. If you're on the field for 99 plays and you have 8 3-and-outs in that game, you will not win.
That's fair.
And that's exactly what happened to them. They could not. That offense could not stay on the field. That defense got tired, and Tom Brady does what Tom Brady does in the playoffs, and he embarrasses you, and it's death by 1,000 cuts. And that's exactly what happened.
I'm gonna do a quick transition for you because you believe he's not an NFL quarterback. I do. Okay. Do you think Dak Prescott is an NFL starting quarterback? Because I want to read you some stats. I'm going to read you some stats, okay?
I feel like I walked into a trap, but
you did. You've activated my trap card, Mr. Oxenrider.
Okay.
Let me read you some. Let me read you some stats. Now, this is just one game sample, but we're talking about clutch time in the playoffs. Okay, that's just what we're saying.
Okay.
Jalen Hurts went 23 for 43, 258, 1 touchdown, 2 picks, rushed 8 times for 39 yards, 4.9 average. Okay. Cowboys. Dak Prescott. Let me get to it. Sorry. 23 for 43, 254, 1 passing touchdown, 1 pick, rushed 12 times, 31 yards, and had 1 touchdown on the ground. Tell me the difference between those two guys. Now, granted, it is a 1-game sample. I believe Dak had actually an incredible year. I believe Jalen actually had a pretty good year for being a second-year starter. Actually, first-year starter because he didn't really start last year very much. Tell me the difference. I want to know.
You know what? You got me on the numbers there. But if you watch this game, and it was by far the best game of the day. It was.
Oh, by the way, Cowboys have Zeke Elliott and Miles Sanders. You can't compete there.
How? No, not at all. But and they have Tony Pollard, which I don't understand how you have guys that good and you don't give them.
Their offensive line is good too. The Cowboys losing that game makes 0 sense to me.
It was coach. I'm telling you, a lot of it was coaching. Mike McCarthy and Kellen Moore.
QB draw on the 41-yard line.
It was.
With no time.
I've never seen anything like that in my entire life, and I was there for the no call in New Orleans. I have seen the tuck rule. I've seen some heartbreaking losses. That was bad because the Niners should have won that game like 4 times before that even happened. 100%. Deebo Samuel being an inch short, the false start, or there was the delay of game or the illegal motion, then the punt, and then
it was Kyle Shanahan doing his best to lose a game.
I'm telling you it was, and I'll give you this. Like, I am a huge Deebo Samuel fan.
Oh, dude, I love him. He's so good.
He's so much fun to watch. Like, he's not a wide receiver or running back. He's just a football player. Like, that's the best. He's an athlete. But you're right. I mean, Zeke had 12 carries for 31 yards. I mean, the longest rush he had was 9, and then Tony Pollard only had 4 carries. Dak, I don't know if it was a mixture of. I don't know what it was a mixture of. It was bad play calling. It seemed like they couldn't get anything going, and then I understand why they abandoned the run because they trailed the entire game. They trailed the entire game, and it seems
you
like
can still get your running backs involved.
You can, and you can, and Zeke's not the best pass catcher. No, he's a really good pass blocker. That's why Tony Pollard is generally they're out of the backfield guy. But I mean, CeeDee Lamb 1 catch for 21 yards. I mean, Coop had a touchdown. I mean, their tight end was their leading receiver. And then obviously you have the turnovers. I mean, Dak fumbling, he throwing a pick. He got sacked 4 times. I mean, QBR of 27, not great. I mean, but Jimmy G like tried. Jimmy G and Kyle Shanahan tried to throw that game away.
They really did, and honestly, it was Kyle Shanahan at his best as far as like throwing games away. He was really trying to give it away.
He really was, and so
And as a Falcons fan, I fucking know what that's like. Okay, so I know that feeling.
It's insane. It was, but I will never be able to understand that play call. And a part of me is like, if you're Dak Prescott and you hear that play call, you're like, that's a terrible call. Like you're the guy, like you're the $100 million guy.
Right.
Change out of that. Like say no. Like like call those shots. Like Aaron Rodgers would hear that and he'd be like, hell no.
And he'd check out of it. And then they go on to win a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Or one time. But
because they were dotting him up down the field. Like it's not like you're throwing a 50-yard Hail Mary. Like you're going to get to the point where it's only going to be like a 25-yard completion. And you have 3 great wide receivers and a good tight end. And Dak can roll around. I don't know whose play call that was, if that was Kellen Moore, if that was McCarthy. Like I will never understand that play call. It was horrible. And people are going to try and blame the refs like, oh, he was in the way. It is literally in the rule book that the refs have to touch the football before the snap can get. And in the NFL, the clock just continues to run. It's not college where you get a first down and it stops. Like the clock continues to run. It was a bad play call in a bad situation. And I'll give it to the Niners. I thought they played a really good game. They played their game plan. Their defense is real. Like they're one of those teams, if they get hot at the right time, they can make a Super Bowl run. I mean, the fact to even get into the playoffs, they had to overcome a 17-point lead or a deficit against the Rams and came back and won and went overtime. And it broke my heart because if the Saints beat the Falcons and all the Rams had to do was win. And the Saints would have been in the playoffs, and we would have played I think we would have played the Bucks or the Rams. Actually, no, the Rams. We would have played the Rams, and so that would have sucked. But
probably would have gotten stomped. But I mean,
but
at least you make the playoffs, and you can sit there and say like,
we made the playoffs.
Our starting quarterback and everybody on our team broke a leg this year and got COVID, and we still made the playoffs.
It was exactly. It was just. It was a season from hell from New Orleans. Like, in fact, I don't really want to talk about it right now. It was so bad. So we can, we'll move on and we'll go to the night game. Again, Chiefs look great. Big Ben's final game. I feel for him. He went out kind of sad. There was a moment where there was like a 3-minute segment where the Steelers actually had the lead. Because the Chiefs tried to get too cute. And then Patrick Mahomes was like, okay, let's actually start trying now. And it got to the point where it was so bad. There was a fat guy touchdown, which we love.
Freaking love that. We love fat guy touchdowns.
We love fat guy touchdowns. We love fullbacks, fat guy touchdowns, and non-offensive touchdowns on this podcast. And Najee Harris, I mean, great rookie year. Had his first ever career fumble in the NFL. Came at a bad time. It just seemed like anything that could possibly go wrong for the Steelers went wrong. It got so bad last night, even Travis Kelce threw a touchdown pass. That's how bad it got.
That is pretty insane. When you have a tight end out there throwing touchdowns, it's not. But I mean, let's talk about Travis Kelce having an absolute game. I mean, he's a monster. Everybody knows that, right? But like on the stage when you need him the most, right?
He's the best tight end in the league. He is.
Right. George Kittle is, you can make that argument. I think it's 1A, 1B. And I think right now, not good Kelce, but
I think Kelce is a little bit more important to Andy Reid's offense than Shanahan. Because
I agree with that.
Kittle's very injury prone. I think he's the best pass blocking tight end in the league or run blocking tight end in the league. Like he loves to embarrass people like pancakes. And that's just like the Iowa Hawkeye in him. But like, I think athletically, it's hard to say like Travis Kelce isn't. Like Darren Waller's up there. Mark Andrews is up there. I'm trying to think who else. I feel like I'm forgetting someone big.
Honestly, someone kind of under the radar, and might laugh when I say this, but that Detroit tight end, Hawkinson.
Oh, Hawkinson, yeah. And
is
again,
really good. He's
another Iowa guy. Kyle Pitts had a really good rookie year. I think he had a good rookie year. Look, numbers don't lie. He had a good rookie year.
Dude, people were predicting him to be offensive rookie of the year, bro.
He's not. He's not going to be.
Not even close. He's not even in the ranking.
It's going to be Jamar Chase, most likely, or Mac Jones. Speaking of Mac Jones, for those who don't know, I may be the biggest Mac Jones fan on the planet, besides his family.
This is correct.
This is 100% correct. In fact, like Mac Jones is probably the reason I even started a podcast to begin with. I've been a fan of his since he was the third string quarterback at Alabama. And I will give him this. He had a great rookie year. He took his team to the playoffs. Unfortunately, he ran up against the buzzsaw that is the Buffalo Bills this year.
Yeah.
And everything that could go wrong for that team went wrong. Like Mac Jones threw an absolute dime in the end zone and it got picked off. And it just seemed no one could catch anything. I'll give him this. He fought to the end, but like, man, that's a rough way to go out your rookie year. But I was very impressed with Mac. Josh Allen is electric. He's so good. And he's gotten better every year.
I think the Bills actually recorded. Correct. Whoever listens to this, at me on Twitter if I'm wrong here, but I think they actually recorded the perfect game on offense where every single drive that they had ended in a touchdown. Again, correct me if I'm wrong on that one, but it seemed like every single drive ended in a touchdown.
I can tell you right now. So let's see. First drive of the game, 9 plays, 70 yards. Second drive of the game, 10 plays, 80 yards. Third drive of the game, 10 plays, 81 yards. Fourth drive of the game, 4 plays, 89 yards. The only times they did not score a touchdown, Nick, is when they ended the half and ended the game.
Because they kneeled it. Right. Every other drive that they were trying to score, they scored.
They scored a touchdown every time the offense touched the ball. That is absolutely amazing.
As far as offensive efficiency, I think that is considered
that's a perfect game. I guess like if you're gonna get like technical on the last 2 times they touched it, but they kneeled the last 3 plays of the game, which was like -2 yards for kneeling, and then they just ran the ball for 0 yards 1 play for the end of the half. Right. That is insane. I did not realize that.
Wow. I remember watching that and being like, I don't remember them punting. Like legitimately, I don't remember. It was like watching Alabama against Southern Miss, and that is, I hate to say that about a team where my boy, Mac Jones is on the team, but it literally looked like a Division II squad going up against the Buffalo Bills. The fight. Hey, I gotta say, just real quick, I wish we could pull it up so we could watch it while we talk about it. But Mac Jones throwing a shoulder on a 290-pound defensive end on an end around and just then getting absolutely flattened, but the play actually works because he throws the block. That is a guy that I want on my team, and I honestly believe Mac Jones is like a future NFL stud.
I do too. I think he's going to be great.
But I think you're right. They walked into the bus. But the bus.
I got cold watching that game on the couch.
Yeah.
It looked freezing. I looked it up. Like it felt like -6 or -4 or something. And I'm like, I got to tell you something. I love a lot of things in my life. I don't know if I love anything that much. To sit there and watch.
Love me some football, but I couldn't do that. And honestly, credit to all those Buffalo Bill fans that actually year in and year out go to games that aren't playoff games, right? No. That they go and sit in that shit and like December.
I love Bills Mafia. Bills Mafia are probably like my second or third favorite like NFL fan base. Like obviously, like I'm loyal to Houdat Nation. I think we're the most fun, passionate fans in the NFL. But I think you gotta have Bills Mafia in there, the Dog Pound, the Cheeseheads. I would say Atlanta, but like you guys only get like the people from the YMCA on the weekends to come up to the games. So
God damn it.
I'm sorry.
No, I was gonna say, dude, we actually probably have one of the worst fan bases in the NFL.
It's
and again, like you said at the first of the show, if you can't make fun of your team, you shouldn't be able to make fun of any team. But I would honestly say the Atlanta Falcons is like 30, 31, 32 out of 32 as far as fan bases goes.
I would say that. All right, so we covered that. Obviously the Rams Cardinals games tonight. I have the Rams winning. I think it'll be a close game, but I think the Rams are just a little bit too much for the Cardinals. The Cardinals started out hot and then they've just like kind of dipped the last second half of the season. In fact, if they didn't have such a large commanding lead, because I think they started out 7-0. And I think if they would not have made the playoffs. So I got the Rams tonight. I don't know who you have.
Yeah, I'm going Rams. As well. Just the home team, 3-point favorites at home. That pretty much means it's a pick 'em as far as Vegas is concerned, because you usually get a 2.5, 3-point edge when you're at home. But I just think fundamentally, other than D-Hop and Kyler Murray, at those positions, I think the Rams have better players at every other position. I think they have a better defense. And honestly, I say Kyler Murray's better than Matthew Stafford. On Matthew Stafford's good day, he's a top 5 NFL quarterback, honestly. And I say that like hand on the Bible. I believe that.
Wow. I'll take.
But I'm saying on a good day, like I'm saying on day that he's throwing dimes, like week 1, Matthew Stafford is a top 5 NFL quarterback in the league right now.
All right. Well,
So I'm going Rams.
Okay. Well, we've been going. It's been so much fun. We've been missing this. We haven't done this in a while. So we'll go ahead and wrap up this episode. We're just gonna go over our divisional rounds real quick. Okay, this one has trap game written all over it, and I know I'm gonna get some shit for it. Cincinnati going to number 1 seed Tennessee. I would not be shocked if Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase go in to Nashville and they beat the Titans.
Yep. Yeah.
It's something about this team. I don't know what it is. It's hard to explain. I watched Joe Burrow torch and Jamar Chase torch Alabama in 2019 in person, and it was like unexplainable.
Mm-hmm.
They are going to light up the NFL for years. Like the Bengals are going to be a problem. If they keep Joe Mixon, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Joe Burrow, that offensive line, dude, their defense is great. Trey Hendrickson, the former Saint, Von Bell, the former Saint, Sam Hubbard. I mean, they got some studs. If they get like one more free agency and one more draft class and they hit on, they're going to be a problem. They're going to be like Kansas City and Buffalo. Yeah. They're here to stay. And we don't know what Pittsburgh's going to do. Baltimore's inconsistent. Cleveland's inconsistent. They're going to dominate that division for a long time coming. So, and here's the thing: Tennessee has been just injury prone, and they've seemed to be able to like. It's the perfect storm. They play to the level of their competitions. I've seen them play against bad teams, and I've seen them play against good teams, and they just always seem to find ways to win. But Derrick Henry's back, Julio Jones is back, AJ Brown's back. But I don't know what it is. I'm gonna go Cincinnati. I'm picking the upset. I think they go into Nashville and they take care of business. And I think the Bengals are going to the AFC Championship game.
I don't hate that. I really don't, because Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase, I mean, they're the best 1-2 combo, honestly, probably this year. Like I can't think of anybody else that's just been like, just those two guys have taken that team from what used to be the laughing stock of the NFL to being, a serious contender, right? Yeah. I mean, not just like you said, not for just making the playoffs, but making like a serious run at a championship here. So I don't hate the pick. I'm actually going to go opposite of you, though. I think it's Tennessee's to lose. I mean, it's 3.5-point favorites at home. I'm actually going to lay that. I think if they win 6-10. And I think it's mainly just because they finally put it all together. It feels like the Titans, even though they're 12-5, I don't really know if they've had their complete game yet, where Derrick Henry rushed for 100. Ryan Tannehill goes 20 for 29, 300. Julio Jones and A.J. Brown catch a touchdown. Like that kind of game, they can beat anybody in the league, right? Yeah. And I think this is when that game comes, because they're all healthy. They got the first round bye. Yeah. I think Tennessee has a better coaching staff in general. But it's just one of those, the Bengals on any given night can upset anybody, if just that 1-2 combo has their game of their life. So I don't know, but I am going Titans.
Yeah. I think it's going to be a great game. I can't wait to watch it. That's the first game. And then Saturday night, San Francisco at Green Bay, Aaron Rodgers FU tour, last dance, him and Devontae Adams. It's going to be cold as hell. Lambeau Field. I'm going Green Bay. I think Green Bay knows that this is their last legit shot at a championship with Aaron Rodgers, because I know there's a lot of momentum saying like, oh, he's not going to leave, he's going to stay. I think he's sticking to his word and he's gone. I think he's gone. And so I think they have everything lined up for it. The defense is playing well this year. Ever since that week 1 debacle against the Saints in Jacksonville, and it was just, and I was there. It was the weirdest NFL game I've ever been to in my life, where it's like, what the hell is happening? It was supposed to be in the Superdome, got moved because of the hurricane, played in Jacksonville, Florida, Jameis Winston's first start. Ever since then, the Packers look like the best team in the NFL. They do. And I think this is the year that the Packers finally like overcome their demons and they get there because they look like the best team right now. If Aaron Rodgers is playing Aaron Rodgers type football with Devontae Adams and Aaron Jones, no one's beating them. And it's in Green Bay. If this was anywhere else, if this is in Candlestick Park or wherever, whatever the hell the San Francisco 49ers stadium's called now, I would really consider taking 49ers. But it's at Lambeau. It's cold as hell. It's a night game. Give me the Packers.
I don't want to just disagree with you for the sake of disagreeing with you, but I think this is the matchup that Green Bay hates. A team that is very efficient at running the football. The San Francisco is 7th in the league with 127.4 yards per game rushing yards. And Green Bay's defense running the ball is suspect at best. I mean, they're the top 10 in the league, but it's because they've had a couple of games where just nobody wanted to run the ball because they were trailing the entire time, so they had to throw the ball. So they have a top 10 rushing defense just for the sake because Aaron Rodgers is so damn good at football.
Yeah.
I think this is a matchup nightmare for Green Bay. And I think San Francisco coming off that win against Dallas, I think they're focused. Jimmy G's playing well. I think if they can run the football, this is going to be, if you're watching this, if you're listening to this right now and you're going to watch this game, it's going to be one in the trenches. If on the first 2-3 drives, San Francisco is able to establish the run game, hammer for San Francisco money line. I mean, bet it the entire way down because I'm telling you, this is an upset waiting to happen.
Wow. Okay, so me and you both are splitting the number one seeds in the playoffs losing.
I think this is where the upset happens.
Okay. I think this is a bad matchup for San Francisco, but I think Aaron Rodgers is on a big FU tour, and I think this is it. So I will say this, though, and this is not me being a homer at all. I think Green Bay and Tampa Bay are so happy New Orleans did not get in the playoffs because their defense matches up perfectly against both these teams. We've seen it in person twice against Tampa Bay and once against Green Bay. I think San Francisco is that type of matchup for Tampa Bay and Green Bay, where it's like this could be like a New Orleans game. And so and just because I've seen it now, granted, I think Jameis is a better quarterback than Jimmy G. I don't think Jimmy G is a good quarterback. I think he's a game manager quarterback. He's a game manager, and I think Trey Lance is taking his job at the end of the year. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if Trey Lance plays a lot in this game.
I could see him throwing a curveball. I could definitely see that. But I think as far as what San Francisco needs to do to win this game, it is going to be running the ball. I don't think they need Jimmy G to go out there and throw it 40 times. I think they can win this game with, Garoppolo throwing the ball 25 times and being able to run the ball for 150, 175 yards. And this game kind of getting ugly because it is cold. I mean, people are going to be playing tight. It is the playoffs. Green Bay, while they did play everybody in we had 17 weeks this year or 18 weeks this year?
18 weeks, 17 games.
Okay, 17 games. They played everybody in that last game, but they've had, some inefficiencies in previous years where they get that number one seed, they get all this time off, and then they come out flat in this following game. Yeah. So I think it really, truly, I think if an upset happens, it's right here.
Yeah, and that's a good pick. It's just, I don't know what it is. It just seems like the Packers are just they seem different this year. They really do. All right, so this, and then on the Sunday matchup, this was supposed to be championship matchup for me. These were supposed to be the conference championship games, and the first one, we hypothetically speaking, we have the Rams playing at Tampa Bay. Mm-hmm. We know that the winner of the Cardinals Rams game will be playing at Tampa Bay on Sunday afternoon. I have the Rams beating the Bucs. I think with the lack of weapons, no AB, no Chris Godwin. I watched what that Eagles pass rush did to that Tampa Bay offensive line. What do you think Aaron Donald's going to do? What do you think Terrell Lewis is going to do? What do you think Jalen Ramsey's going to be on Mike Evans? And I think Mike Evans is going to have a bad day. If I know probably my favorite rivalry in the NFL is Marshawn Lattimore versus Mike Evans. But I love Jalen Ramsey because he's probably the best trash talker in football. Mike Evans is probably the biggest hothead wide receiver.
He's soft, dude. He's soft.
He's a big dude and he's good. I will give Mike Evans this. He's good, But there's something about when you get inside his head, he shuts down. So if Jalen Ramsey has a Jalen Ramsey game where he gets inside his head, he makes Mike Evans commit some dumb penalties, which we've seen. It can happen. I got the Rams winning. I think Stafford is, and plus not to mention who on the Bucks is going to cover Cooper Kupp or Odell. Odell has had a resurgence, like 5 touchdowns in the last couple games. I think the Rams take care of business. I think they go into Tampa Bay, and I think the Rams go to the NFC Championship game against.
I am agreeing with you on this one. I think.
Side note: I also hate the Rams more than anybody.
I was about to say. I mean, I hate. It is very interesting that you are picking them as heavily as you are, but
I'm non-biased. I'm not biased. So
yeah. Well, you're a homer. Come on, let's be honest. But here I am being unbiased. Tom Brady broke my heart with the 28-3, but I love Tampa Tom. I do. I really, really, really like Tampa Tom. I think he's like kind of gotten underneath the shield of Bill Belichick, and he's able to like kind of be himself in a more of a way. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if you've noticed this, and maybe this is just like him playing in 7-degree weather a majority of the year instead of -10. But his velocity on the ball when he throws it seems to have improved somehow. I don't know how the man has done it. He's 44 years of age and looks like he's out there throwing like he's a second-year starter. It's unbelievable.
It's that Florida heat, baby.
And all I'm going to say, all of that to say Tom Brady has an incredible game, 300 yards, 3 touchdowns, but I think it's just too much. I think this Rams attack is just too much for that Tampa Bay defense, and I think they run away with it, honestly.
I don't think they run away with it. I will never
run away with it, meaning 10 points. Tom Brady doesn't have a chance to win it in the end.
I think
let's just be real.
I think it's a close game going into the 4th, and Rams go away with it. It's hard to say Tom Brady's going to get blown out in the playoffs because I don't think I can think of one time Tom Brady got like absolutely boat race, and that was against the Ravens in like 2010. It was like literally
Super Bowl in 2010.
It was the Saints won it. It was the 2009-2010 playoffs.
That's okay. That's what it was.
And it was like what was it? Ray Rice like took the opening handoff like 80 yards, and I'm like, oh, okay, well this is fun. Yeah. Okay, and then the last game we have. I cannot wait for this game because I think this has a chance to be the game of the year. Buffalo at Kansas City, Sunday night. Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Tyreek Hill, Stephon Diggs. I'm so excited for this game. I think this is going to be a just barn burner. I'm taking the over in this game. I really am. I think Kansas City is hot at the right time again. I think Buffalo is hot at the right time again. It's going to come down of what team makes the first mistake. Yeah. And I think that's it. I'm taking Kansas City. And I picked Buffalo to go to the Super Bowl, so I want people to know this. But like after watching what I did, I think Buffalo is going to go into this game a little too confident after what they just did to their division rivals, the team that has had their number the last 20 years, and they embarrassed them on their home field. The city of Buffalo is going nuts. But, man, it is hard to bet against Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes at home in the playoffs. I've seen some Kansas City magic. I'm going Kansas City by field goal.
I love that pick because I'm going right with you. I think it's Kansas City by a field goal. And I think it's like right at the end, too. I think this game's really tight. I think there's lots of points. And I think, even though, these teams might have a few mistakes back and forth, Josh Allen might fumble the ball on a sack, Patrick Mahomes may throw a deep ball that gets intercepted. There are going to be mistakes like that. Yeah. These teams aren't going to play a perfect game against each other because they're just too good for that. Yeah. But it's going to be one of those. It's going to be one of those where it's like they're going to be eyeball to eyeball, and it's going to be whoever blinks first.
Yes, 100%.
And I cannot wait. I almost don't even want to make a pick on this because it's going to be that much fun of a game. I just want to have no stress. Agree. I just want to watch it. Yeah. Because we are not normally. Blessed is kind of a weird word, but like blessed to watch this good of a football game when it's not like the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm going to say Kansas City wins by a field goal just because at home.
Yeah.
I don't know, but I love Josh Allen. I love the Buffalo Bills.
Like I said,
my best friend in the world is a Buffalo Bills super fan.
Yeah.
But I cannot go against Patrick Mahomes. Plus, he's my Super Bowl MVP and Super Bowl champion this year.
Like I said, I picked the Bills to go to the Super Bowl, but it's a gut feeling. And for people, who will see this on YouTube, they see the Kansas City Chiefs thing behind me. My dad's diehard Kansas City Chiefs fan. He is the only person that can get me to wear a non-Saints jersey. So like
you sent me that last night. I was like, who are you?
I know.
Who are you?
I do it for my dad. I've done it for him for years. We've gone to Chiefs games together. But I'm telling you that it's a gut pick, and I just can't wait to watch the game. I think it's gonna be amazing. Holy crap, Nick! We just did our first episode of the Aux Cord. It's kind of weird.
The boys are back, man.
It's kind of
in a big way.
It's kind of weird not saying the Cruise Control podcast, but I mean, you got to admit the Aux Cord is kind of catchy. It's good.
Gotcha.
And again, huge shout out to Boot Crew Media. Huge shout out to Maker's Mark for sponsoring the show. Like I never thought that would ever be a phrase I would ever say. In fact, I'm probably gonna go enjoy a nice glass of it celebrate our first episode. You can find me online at The Real Cruise Aux on Instagram and Twitter. Make sure that if you're not, like and subscribe the show. It's a new show. So for those who liked and subscribed, the Cruise Control podcast is completely different. So if you guys don't mind going on and giving us a rating on Spotify and Apple, and make sure you follow the Aux Cord podcast on Instagram and Twitter as well. It's going to be the same accounts that we use for the Cruise Control podcasts as well. So if you already have, thank you. If not, please go give us a follow. I'm just giddy. Like I feel like a kid on Christmas right now. Nick, tell people how they can find you online.
Man, you pretty much covered everything. But if drop a follow at nperkins96. It's I always said this on the Cruise Control podcast, right? Like it really isn't like, oh, go follow so we can get that follower count up. Like we really just want to build like a community, and I can't tell you how many people listen to the Cruise Control podcast and they came over and followed, and they would tweet at me like, oh yeah, you said this during the show, look how that turned out, you dumbass. I'm like, like that kind of shit happens. And it's so much fun because you interact with the people, and it's more of a conversation than just us speaking into our microphone into the void, right? So I would say go drop a follow at the show. Follow on Instagram, follow both of us on Twitter, because it's just more of a community than us just talking. So we appreciate you guys. We love you guys. And
the YouTube channel too. That's going to be a new one that I have to remember. So so follow us on YouTube as well. Like I said, we're going to start doing some live streams. We're going to be very active in our community. Because like I said, this is something special, both me and Nick. We want to see it grow, and we love you guys. And those wondering about intern, Bon Snow, don't worry. He is still with us. He's going to be helping us do some behind the scenes stuff, and who knows, he will make a cameo every once in a while. So don't think he's gone. He's still very much involved with us. We can't get rid of him. He's
part of our family. I think we talked about this prior to the show. We might try and get him on the 1s and 2s, so he's going to be on the show, and we might have him pop in every now and then.
Yeah. Well, thank you for episode 1. We will be back next week with the Aux Cord podcast. Love you guys.